Toronto to do that. But to be honest, we only do it because of our relationship with Nelson at 3050. And Nelson was one of the first wine agents Eric and I ever encountered on our journey as restaurateurs back at Izakaya about 15 years ago. And this is a relationship and a friendship that's gone on for a long time. And the pandemic's been an opportunity to really, explore new ways to connect with our clients through these friendships. But, in the normal times, it would be quite a feat to host Tarek Sakar in our restaurant for a wine dinner in Toronto. And so the pandemic offers us such a unique opportunity to connect with people across the world in a real, genuine way. And so we're very grateful to have Tarek here, especially given that it's 2 a.m. in Lebanon where he is. And so he's burning the midnight oil, as they say, to entertain and educate us. And with that, I'm going to throw it to Nelson in a second to show us a really cool video from Chateau Musar, and then to kind of introduce Tarek and get the conversation flowing. But I just want to raise a glass, and I think everyone should as well. We're going to toast, of course, to everybody's health and ongoing health, but also to old relationships and new connections. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Nelson, I'll throw it to you to share the video, and we'll get the evening rolling.
Amazing. Thanks, John. Kathleen, can you, oh, here we are. Okay, thank you. Kathleen, can you enable screen sharing, please?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
It's not working through. I've got the picture, but I don't have any sound by using it.
I just want to see whether you was here.
All right. That puts some mood into the party here, and welcome everybody. we are going to have fun tonight, and I would really like for you, if you haven't already, started enjoying your wines. We're going to be drinking the Hochar Peri-Fie, the 2017 Hochar Peri-Fie. That is going to be paired with your first course, or that is the way we designed it. It's up to you to enjoy your dinner how you would like to, but that's the way we set it off to be. So if you don't have your Hochar 2017 already open, breathing, and enjoying, please do so. A little bit of formality. I'm going to invite Tarek to speak, and then we're gonna talk about that first wine, and then we're gonna have you interact with Tarek. We're gonna open the floor, and this is really an opportunity for you to engage with Tarek and by all means with Jane as well, and ask your questions and get them answered. So, Tarek, welcome, my friend. Welcome to Canada. Welcome home.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nelson. And thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yeah. Tarek, I am going to ask you to just really initially give us just a short snippet of the winery. And while you're speaking, I'm going to show some images. I want to start so that we all can appreciate exactly where we are tasting today, where we're tasting wine from today, because you know a lot of us haven't looked at our geography books lately. So I just want to make sure that we're all zoned into where you are and where you create your magic. So I'm going to share this screen, and I will hand it over to you.
Okay. So if you can see Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon, we are in the Middle East. On the border, we have between Syria and Israel. And if you can see, we are in face of the Mediterranean Sea. This country, this space, country where you have put Beirut, and it is in white, this is Lebanon, 10,000 square kilometers. It's very easy to describe it. It is one literal of 2,024 kilometers, two chain of mountains. One is called Mount Lebanon. The other with the border with Syria is called Anti-Lebanon. And between them, there is a 48 kilometers of the Bekaa Valley where most of our vineyards are. Recently, we have taken in the Mount Lebanon area, we have taken a 15-hectare vineyards, and it's all planted with one autochthone grape variety is called Merweh, which I will talk later. So this is Lebanon in a small talking, but Chateau Musar have been in this country since 1930. It was established in 1930 by Gaston Hochar. His son Serge and Ronald, this is Gaston Hochar. His son Serge and Ronald took over, and Serge took over in 1959. This is the iconic winemaker, Serge Hochar, my professor, my mentor, and practically he was like a father for me. I joined the winery in 1991, and still in the winery after I finished studying oenology and viticulture at INSAM Montpellier, and I worked my thesis at Chateau Lafite Rothschild in Bordeaux, and joined Chateau Musar in 1991. So Serge came in 1959. He completely changed the shape of the winery with his brother Ronald, and makes new wine in a very different philosophy, which is non-interventionist, the natural winemaking philosophy, where he didn't do anything except making wine as nature as he can. So he introduced this philosophy, and in 1977, he showed the world his legacy in his wines in the Bristol Wine Fair. So from there onwards, Chateau Musar was like a ship. I always tell people that it's not a winery, it's a ship of dreams. It's not a place where you work, it's a space to achieve. This is something, it's a dream, you know, you don't work at Chateau Musar, you achieve things. So from that onwards, Chateau Musar have been traveling all over the world, showing people how the wine should be and could be in a sacred land where it has been doing the wine since ago, and where the temple exists 250 years ago before Jesus, where it was there on the temple. And what they mean by this, that Romans, unlike the Greeks, took their gods everywhere, the best place where they have. For example, Dionysus, the god of wine, it always stayed in Athens, while Bacchus, the Romans would choose the best place to be, and they will put it in what they think they're with. So they put Bacchus in Baalbek. Let us say that the Valley was the old Bordeaux of the old world. This is in few words about the history of Chateau Musar. We are continuing the legacy, and we are still continuing. Just one I want to emphasize on video you have seen. What you have seen in those videos, you have seen 3 vines called Anna, Danube, Kefraya. I had the privilege to plant practically they have vineyards, and I planted them from 2005. The have been planted since 98, and we have vineyards. We have vineyards dating from who had vines dating from 1948 and 1952. So to put you in the real cartography of Chateau Musar vineyard.
Okay. Thank you, Tarek. All right. Tarek, would you, I think it's brilliant that today being Earth Day, we have a guest speaker who dedicates the largest portion of his professional career, communicating with plants and following weather patterns and getting the best out of what Earth gives us. Kathleen, if you don't mind sharing screen again, I'd like Tarek to give us a little bit more of the philosophy of the vine growing and the winemaking. You described it a little bit as hands off or minimal intervention. Can you tell us a little bit about more of the philosophy behind the wines?
Okay. Viticulture and winemaking. And the viticulture, the most important thing is to take the roots out of the soil. This is the most important thing. How to take it is one thing. You have to be honest with the vine soils. In general, most of the wine put they want on a trellis, but the trellis have been made in Europe for purposes. First purpose is to make a harvest where you don't have people to harvest. In Lebanon, we do not have this problem. We have enough people. Second, in the trellis, you need the sunlight and have it for the grapes. In Lebanon, we do not have this problem. We have enough. So one of the main components to make a very natural viticulture is the vines just so that the leaf of the vines will get grapes, and it will be a harmonious combination between the soil, the viticulturist, the grape, and the climate. So no components will have better hand on the other components. The harmonious thing makes the truth and a very harmonious blend, a very expression of the millésime or the vintage. Whenever you make a small mistake, you put something ahead. For example, when you put on trellis, condition climate, not the balanced equilibrium of the vine itself. This is the main thing what we do in viticulture. Practically, we are certified, our vineyards are certified by a company called CCP Sanita. Second, in this we plow only one time. Everything is done practically by hand. No pesticide, no fertilizers. These are everyone.
Tarek, perhaps we're having a little trouble with the signal. Perhaps if you turn your camera off, we will get better audio, a stronger audio signal.
Okay, do you hear me now? Can I come back? Do you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, so I just telling that I was just saying that the only to practice which is natural to keep it balanced. So no chalice. So the condition dynamic will take over. Only the balance system will form a millésime. As I before, are certified organic from a company in Italian. And this is what gives the taste to the strategy is made of vineyards, tactics, wine, most strategy in our Chateau a very winery wine and choice widely. We do not add I think everything is made. We think when to make pump overs, when to make a lot of maceration. We took vat per vat, grape per grape, all they are separated, they are fermented alone, and the millésime is practically practically 1 week after 1 week. It's a very difficult and at the same time natural process. You have to think, you have to be one with nature, and you have to be very creative. You have to be very creative. You don't have a lot of choices. Everything in you is between you and nature. Can I continue? Do you hear me?
Yes, you were breaking up for a little bit there, Tarek, but you seem to be clear now.
Okay. So always tell about everyone. They call, but we are generous. We deliver. One deliver. We have to give the world. We have to give the world each. So we try our best to be a natural product. As simple as we are not others. Only we are the people who delivers. So what I've seen is natural product done by people who understand, who feel that nature should take apply it on that you are producing.
Okay. Tarek, perhaps what we're going to do right now is if you want to give us an idea of, or if you want to taste the wine with us. The vintage for me, 2017, is, I don't remember drinking a Hochar that has shown so much energy, so much youth upon release, at least in my time working with Musar. And there's something about the energy in this wine. You know, both these wines, they seem to be quite vast. It's like walking up to a big valley and standing there, and the vastness takes over all of the details. There's just so much energy and power in the wine that we haven't yet seen what's underneath it. Can you explain a little bit about the vintage and allow us to appreciate what we're seeing in the glass here?
Okay, first of all, 2007, I told Jane about 2 years ago that from 2017, we have changed a bit. We have changed a bit in the Hochar philosophy. We before that, the Hochar, it was always Senso, Cabernet, and Grenache. It was always about a 6 to 9 months and blended 2 to 3 years. In 2017, we started a new approach for the wine. We have kept the richness, fruitiness of the wine, and we put 6 to 9 months into practically a 2 years old oak. This that's the explosion of taste between the 2 years old oak and the freshness of fruit of the other component of the Hochar Parafis made this explosion. And when I taste it, you understand, I really understand the philosophy about how making it have seen it in here. As you have said, it's not new, let us say it have a more structure, more energy, more nervosity, more acidity, but at the same time, more depth, layers of taste, more concentration. And you can see it's a very deep. and it's very velvety. You can see the concentration of the product. You can even smell the velvet. You smell herbs, oregano, a little bit of orange peel, extreme aromas, the unique smells.
Should I say something about what the wine actually is? Because it's not strictly speaking our second label, is it? It's more from a single vineyard actually, and the production of this wine is very limited. So we don't produce much of this every year. It comes from one village called Anna, which Tarek mentioned earlier, and it's a very specific thing. And Serge loved this wine, didn't he, Tarek? It was really his wine. He felt it was very classical, very traditional, but also had so much appeal. It doesn't spend so much time in oak as the Chateau Musar, and obviously 2017 is our current vintage, so it's released a bit earlier. But it has its own style, its own character, with the addition of Grenache, because we don't have Grenache in the Chateau red. You'll taste the 13 shortly, and no Grenache. The Grenache only exists in these vineyards in the Anna region for this wine, and it gives it its own style. It has oak aging. It's released at this sort of time. We'll move this year from 17 to 18, but it's its own thing in a very sort of limited way. It's kind of, so it's not exactly our second label, but it's a single vineyard wine effectively that we make. And Nelson, you're totally right about this vintage. It's so appealing, and I think also it's developed so much in the last 6 months. It's really changed dimension.
Brilliant.
I hope it goes very well with the dish you're having as well. I think it should be a fantastic match.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. I want to segue John back in here, because obviously, you know, this wine is inspirational. John, we tasted it together, and then, you know, you started working with it to take the menu in a certain direction. So please share that with us. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll tell you, when as a chef, when you're given 2 red wines in a row to pair with an appetizer and a main course, the inclination is to go with like protein followed by protein. But this wine, like you said, Nelson, it has an energy about it. It's got a brightness, and the acidity is just so fresh and lovely that I really thought I wanted to mix the seasons. Like, we are in the middle of a shoulder season here. It's really difficult to actually get beautiful spring ingredients this time of year, even though the weather's warming up. I mean, not today in Toronto, but generally the weather's warming up. So we put the two together. We've got, you know, earthy root vegetables as the base of the dish with the celeriac and the rutabaga. And for me, rutabaga, when it's cooked properly, has a natural sweetness to it. And I wanted to counter that with, like, you know, the bitterness of the frisée and the earthiness from the fresh truffle. And I wanted to also go against the idea that red wines are only main course wines or can't be paired with vegetables. So yeah, we put this together. We lifted the dish with a rhubarb vinaigrette that's really bright. And then, you know, the fava beans and the Marcona almonds are a bit of an homage to the cuisine of the region as well. And also just ingredients I love to put on a plate and cook with. So I'm hoping it came together well for the wine. I mean, the tannins don't destroy the dish at all, which I was scared of. They're actually very elegant. So it was very, very, I think, I mean, I'm eating it right now and tasting it. I'm very happy with it. But really, I'm going to segue into the first question of the evening, Nelson, if you don't mind. Yeah. Michael Watson asked the panel, from the first time I became aware and tasted of Musar in the 1980s, I've wondered why Cabernet Sauvignon, a Bordeaux variety, is blended with Cinsault from the Rhone Valley. I've never seen this blend in any other wine. Perhaps this is one of the reasons that Musar has a unique taste and cannot be mistaken for any other wine. Tarek, can you speak to the blend of and why Cabernet Sauvignon and Cinsault were both planted at Chateau Musar?
Let me tell you one thing. The Cabernet Sauvignon with the character. You cannot give it from you. Maximum you can play with your harvest. You can add something, but it's a very strong personality. While the Cinsault is the one that it's malleable. You play with it. You can give it the form that you want, as if you are a sculpture. You make a sculpture and you give it the. When you add the Senso to Cabernet, some power of the Cabernet, you own it from the Senso. You Senso in it and you play with the Senso and you put it in the Cabernet. You bring life to something which is very difficult. Cabernet Sauvignon, very strong character. You have to make it malleable for people to taste it, to go through it, and is done for this purpose. It is a grape which can go from very elegant Pinot, most concentrated wine, very close between Tempranillo and Grenache. It has this great panel. When you add Cabernet Sauvignon, you can play with it. It's a magical blend. And so the to make this blend done by sculpturists, by winemakers, can present for you the power of wine blending in a glass. This is the real power of the Senso that brings the Carignan to your hands, because the Cabernet to your hands. Otherwise, Cabernet is very difficult to treat with. It will give you, I am here, you cannot do anything with me, this is the taste. So you have a small window to work with the Cabernet.
And I think as
Super
well,
interesting.
yes, with both Tarek and I worked with Serge for like 100 years, I think, a long time. And Serge always told us the reason that he made the 3 for the blend of Chateau Musar, which is more or less 1/3 each of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cinsault and Carignan, was because he also experimented and played with it from 1959 really until it took him until 1977 to find the magic, the blend that he was really searching for. So you have periods in the 60s and the 70s, which could be more Bordeaux kind of 2 or 3 years, more Burgundian or something, until he found the formula he was looking for, which ended up being practically 1/3 each. And he always told Tarek and I that how he felt about each of the grapes and why each one together is a good thing, but as a whole, it's magic. The 3 together is really a magic. And he was really a Merlin, Tarek, no? He was really Merlin of Musar, we called him. And he said the Cabernet Sauvignon for him was the structure. It was the backbone, or the skeleton, the frame of the wine, if you like. It's masculine and strong. But on its own, it's not so appealing. But then you have the Carignan, which, if you think the human body is like the organs and the working kind of, the muscles really of the wine. And the Cinsault is like the skin. It's like the wrapping of the wine. It's more feminine. It's more sensuous really. And all 3 together make one body. It's not a technical way to describe it, but we know exactly what he means. So you can't really have one without the other. So it's maybe not a professional way to answer your question, John, but this is why we at Chateau Musar have these 3 grapes in equal proportion. They all need each other.
I mean, what an insightful answer. Thank you, Jane. Like, super interesting. I think part of what I gleaned from your answer too is the incredible history that exists in Musar, the number of decades that have gone into the development of this wine. It's amazing. We have a really interesting question next from Danny Yoon. She asked, I think Lebanon is the most equatorial wine producing country I've heard of. Considering its Earth Day, could you address the potential impact of climate change on this wine region? I'm not sure who wants to take that answer, but that's a tough one. Jane, you're covering your face. Maybe you've already thought of this.
I'm just thinking, well, climate change is such a hot topic for us. And I suppose every winemaker really around the world, but this is really Tarek's field. But from my point of view, I think I used to write the harvest reports in the late 80s and early 90s, and they were always pretty much the same. We'd start at the same sort of picking date in September. We'd finish at the same date, and every year was pretty much churning out the same story. But since 2010, it's really, I think, affected us a lot. Since 2010, we've had big extremes of things, and I think Tarek is the one that should explain more.
Well, the climate change have completely changed things in Lebanon. We have seen severe, let me say, we decided a long time ago to use the severe climatic conditions, because in 2010 we have a severe 3 days of 48 degrees. We have lost 65% of the crop. 2015 we have also lost 50% of the crop. Let us say it's not a climate change. It's a severe climatic conditions. To be more specific, and in the same time a drop of water in the during winters, and they came in a small patches. Instead of going all the winter have rain, we have 1 month rain, and after that you have this increase of temperature. So those severe climatic condition is also affecting us. That's why I told you before, we were in the Bekaa Valley. Recently we changed, we went to the Mount Lebanon, because we have, it's completely more, it's a more high elevation, more different climate conditions. We went there, and we are going maybe more to achieve more vineyards to compensate this severe climatic conditions, because each year we are facing a new dilemma, especially from the heat waves that are practically making us through a very lot of problems during the harvest. It is that there have been a lot of severe climatic conditions, and we are experiencing, and the only solution for us is going north in the country and changing higher altitude region to plant our vineyards. But we are of course staying in the Bekaa Valley, changing and going in a different regions.
Wow, thank you for that, Tarek. What an incredible thing that climate change is imposing upon wineries around the world, especially yours. Nelson, I think it's time to move on to the Chateau Musar 2013. Do you want to introduce this wine?
Yeah, let's do that. So folks, I would imagine by now your meal has moved along and you're on to your next course, and we're going to taste the 2013 Chateau Musar. Jane already went into the sort of the composition of how it's blended. Again, Tarek, this wine here, you know, when I put it to my nose, again, there's something similar. I don't know what it is between 2017 and 2013, but both these wines, you know, we recently had 2012 in the market, you know, and it was so ripe, it was so giving, it was so welcoming, you know. And this one here, it almost looks at you from a distance, you know. It's there, and again, it's vast, you know. There's just a lot of energy, a lot of power there. It's not a lot. It's not so forthcoming. It's almost, you know, it's that teenager that just kind of, you can't control him yet. You know, it's just so much power, so much energy. Tell us why I'm feeling so much continuity between 13 and 17 here.
Chateau Musar 2013 and through those years, I want to emphasize on what you say. In general, the 13, 15, 17 look like each other, and the 12 and the pair, the 12, 14, 16 look, they are similar. This wine have a very high concentration of taste. In the same time, doesn't have the ripeness of 2012, but it takes you into other dimension. This concentration of product have been due to the climatic condition what we have seen, because at the end of the harvest, we have seen heat wave, where all the maturation, phenolic maturation of the grapes go straight ahead and give you this depth and concentration. If you noticed, and always Chateau Musar vines are always harvested at the end, practically one of the end of the harvest, while the Hochar and the Jeune are the earliest one who came to the winery. And if you still have the both of wines next to you, the Hochar and the Musar Jeune, I want you to taste one sip from each one and see the difference. In the Hochar per Effice, it's still energical. It's still very energetic, and you can see the tannins. You can see the velvety. Let us say I had a tasting with Jane in Belgium, and I make a very good comparison. As if you are on a beach and you are walking on sand, you feel the sand. In the Hochar per Effice, you feel the sand under your knees. While you are tasting the Chateau 2013, as if you are diving in the oceans. You understand? The smooth of the tannins open up, and you will dive into the taste. While over there, the tannins are keeping you floating on water. This is a very good difference. This is a very big difference, and this is what gives this 2013 his depth and the layers of the taste. It takes you into another world of taste, and you can see, you can go through it. So the only word I can say, it's you are diving into the ocean of the taste. Over there, you are just, the tannins keep you floating on water because you can feel the soil of the oceans. This is a very huge difference. This is young freshness. It doesn't let you go. It gives you the energetic. Here, it's tell you, come on, let us discover what we have in taste.
Tarek, I mean, I thought I'd heard all the best wine metaphors I've ever heard in my life, but you just topped it right there. That was beautiful. You're totally right. I love the way you describe it. It's so passionate and it's on point 100%. We've got another interesting question from Dave Williams. He asks, can you compare the growing season between Lebanon and Bordeaux?
Look, Lebanon and Bordeaux, you have during the green part, when you have this the viticulture, you have many series. In Lebanon, it's very easy. Practically 15th of April, you have the bud opening. Okay, this is this is Lebanon. Early May, you have the 10 to 15 centimeter leaf. In June, you have the flowering, and you start in the whites and the Bekaa Valley, you start later, 1st of August, while in the reds, you start practically, and with the Syrah on the 22 of, it's a very constant, okay? Whatever the years are very constant, but when you have severe climatic conditions, this is where problems come. While in Bordeaux, it's completely different. For example, this year, you know what happened in Bourgogne. You have the frost, which destroyed everything, and you don't have, and the metamorphosis of the green part of the viticulture is completely changing. Okay, so they have much more issues during their green viticulture. While in Lebanon, we do not have. We have especially during harvest. Everybody from London to Lebanon put our hands on our hearts when August starts, and we pray not to have a heat wave. This is what we have during harvest. While over there in France, if you can see, each part of the month they have problem. Sometimes it's frost, sometimes it's hail, sometimes it's heat, sometimes it's cold. We are not at this stage. We are just practically in Lebanon, in this Middle East. We are afraid of this heat wave between late July and mid and August. This is what we are afraid. Last year, 2020, we have a heat wave from 1 September till 14th of September. 38 degrees for 14 days. Imagine. So this is what we are. So we discuss with Jane each 10 days. Tariq, what's happening there? Tariq, what's happening there? So this is what's happening. This is the heat wave. While in France and in Bordeaux, each part they have to be very careful. We have to be very careful between August and September.
A great comparison. Thank you, Tarek. I have a question from Eric on the call. He's actually my business partner, one of the principal of Ascari Hospitality Group. He has an interesting question. He wants to know more about winemaking in Lebanon beyond Chateau Musar. Are there like little Musars out there? Are there garagistes in Lebanon making wine in the valley? Tell us about the wine scene in Lebanon.
When I joined the winery, we have been only 3 wineries in 1991. Now in 2021, we are more than 150 wineries. About 40 to 50 wow. are 50 to 50 are big wineries, 50 big wineries, and the others are a garage style. There is a lot of garage style wine. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I have to admit and confess, I rarely taste them. I rarely taste them. Sometimes I taste, sometimes I do not taste. During Vinifest, we have a Vinifest in October, a place where you have, it's like a Vinexpo in Bordeaux. So we taste, I have the opportunity to taste. We have a lot of wine scene. We have a lot of people who are making now wine, and now people are more and more into production after what we have as Lebanese crisis, economical conditions, people are transferring into product agriculture, transforming product like arak, wine, olive oil. People are now starting to take care of their land. And I'm quite sure we are going to see more and more people who are into this business. I have a question, Hon. I am very, is there a specific Lebanese dish you like to pair your wine with? This is one of the most, this is a very good question. First of all, let me tell you about the Lebanese cuisine. We have two cuisines. We have cuisine for the tourists and we have cuisine for the Lebanese. The tourists are what you have in Lebanon. We have the leaf roll, you have the hummus, you have the tagine, you have the kibbe, you have many things. But this is not the Lebanese cuisine. The Lebanese cuisine, you have to ask Jane. She came to me 3-4 years ago and we ate Lebanese cuisine. We have completely different cuisine. Lebanese dish, the most Lebanese dish that goes with wine, for me, I have tried everything. I don't know what you call it. I call it Jane kibbe بالصينية. It's a meat put in oven with pine inside and it's a very delicious. It's like kibbe, you know, kibbe naye. It's kind of meat put in oven and it's thick like this, and you eat it like you are eating. It's something fantastic, and this is only Lebanese dish I drink Chateau Musar with. It's fantastic. All the mezze you can wine with, all the mezze you can red, but special Lebanese dish which I do not consider a mezze. I consider it as a house dish. Understand? It's amazing with the wine. Amazing.
Jane, can you elaborate on that dish a little bit for us?
Well, I remember going to Tariq's house on a Sunday we had all the kids with us, and we had this amazing chicken dish with rice and spinach, and I'd never tasted anything like it, and said, this is the food that's served in Lebanese homes. And he's right. Unfortunately, for some reason, it's never served in any Lebanese restaurant in London, Toronto, Milan, New York, anywhere. You have to go to Tariq's house.
But I'll try my
I love it
to see what's the signing. Yeah, I will see it myself and let us see if we can find the word. But it's a very good question. I have been waiting this question for years and years, and this is
Tariq, your connection's a little choppy. I'm going to go to Gord Cunningham. You have a question. If you want to unmute yourself, feel free to ask the question.
Oh, thanks, John. Thanks, John. By the way, first course was absolutely spectacular with Hojar. So I have this is a question from the past. In about the mid 1980s, I was at a wine dinner, just demonstration of how old I am. And we had a tasting of I think it was 1974, Chateau Musar. And the two comments that were made about Chateau Musar at that dinner were, one, in many years, there was a hint of gunpowder in the Musar, and it came from as the grapes were transported from the Bekaa Valley to Lebanon to the winery, they could have been sprayed by bullets. The second question is, so I'd like to know whether that's lore or reality. And the second question was, in those days, the person who was conducting this dinner said, basically for the first 10 years, Chateau Musar was not drinkable, but after that, it was in the league of the great first growth Bordeaux's. And maybe Tariq could comment on those two things.
I think if Tariq can take the question about the Lebanese side with the bullets, and I'll take the aging one.
Because it was the
Jay, maybe you go first, and hopefully his connection improves.
Okay. So Gordon, to answer your question about the chap that said after 10 years, generally, people say, when is the best time to drink Musar, and how long does it age? Well, as you can see, you're tasting the 13 this evening, which is more or less our current wine, but now we also have the 14, and that's the most youngest we have for sale at the moment. And the reason is that we feel that it isn't even Chateau Musar until it's at least 3 years old, because as Tarek said earlier, with the 3 different varieties, which are put in separate vats, they're vatted separately, separate vineyards, we don't actually make the blend until sort of the 3rd year. So it isn't even a Chateau Musar until sort of year 3 anyway, but it takes time. The whole maturation process takes time, and we don't rush to put it on the market when it's 4 or 5 years old, because we feel that the wine isn't ready. It needs 7 years. It just takes that much time. And Serge used to say, like in French, l'âge de raison, it's the 7 is the age, you know, if you a child, but the English expression is, if you show me a boy of 7, I'll show you the man. Like by 7, the character's formed. All the things that this child can show you at 7 is how he will develop and be as a man. The same with the wine. At 7, we know its character. At 4, we don't know its character. It's too young. But at 7, okay, it's still young. It's a young wine. And then it will develop and develop after many, many years and decades. So what the guy said at this dinner in the 80s is quite correct, really. It starts on its journey then. Probably at 10 to 12 years, maybe 10 to 15 years is when all the elements really start to come together, and it's beautiful to drink. And then it goes on its journey. So there's a lot of truth in what he said. And Chateau Musar, some of you may know, it will age for decades. We have a library list of vintages available that we could sell, not very big quantities, but we could sell going back to the mid 1950s, which shows how Musar can age.
Tarek, your connection looks better now. Can you speak to the bullet spray theory that Gord puts forward?
Yes, I think he said gunpowder. Am I wrong? All right, gunpowder, he used the word?
Yes, yeah, that gunpowder.
Yes. First of all, let me tell you, the gunpowder taste come from one soil, from schistty soils or rocky soils. And through our life, all the gunpowder taste come from one vineyard. It was a region called Ami, because it was a rocky. And whenever we had this wine tasting after fermentation, unbelievably, gunpowder was overwhelming. So now we noticed one thing, just for you, for the information, rocky soils for a grape, like, let me divide the grape varieties. Grape varieties in red, you divide them into 2. We call them, as a wine specialist, I don't know if it be, but I will do like this, clear wines and opaque wines. Clear wines are like Cinsault, Grenache, Pinots. Opaque wines are like Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Carignan, Malbec, and so on. So in the red wines, when they are clear, put them in schist or in rock. Pinot, Cinsault, and the Grenache will give you gunpowder, okay? Because they are very sensible, they are very clear. They took the essence of the gunpowder from the soil, okay? So in that time, we have this gunpowder overwhelming whenever this domination of this product are in the Chateau Musar product, okay? While in white grapes, when you have white grapes in the rock, you get salinity. So you see, this is a salty wine. Be aware of one thing. When you have a salinity or minerality in a white wine, just have one thing in mind. It is made from rocky soils.
Thank you very much. I've waited 30 years to ask that question.
You have it now.
Amazing, Gord. Amazing. Our next question comes from Gord's son-in-law, Ian, who asks, I know we're not drinking white wine tonight from Chateau Musar, but can you tell us about the white wines you produce?
Wow. Look, we have 2 kinds of white wine. One is the Chateau Musar is made by Marwah and Abaidi. And this is local grape varieties. The Abaidi come from anti-Lebanon mountains next to the border with Syria, where the Marwah come from the Mount Lebanon, which is here in this region where I am in Byblos and Kisrwan. And we have the grape varieties that we planted on the year 99 till 2004, Viognier, Vermentino, Chardonnay, and we are making from them Musar Jeune, the Musar Jeune. Okay, they are two different worlds apart. The Marwah and the Abaidi never fermented in vats, never fermented in concrete or in stainless steel, only fermented in oak, in new oak. They make their malolactic fermentation in oak. After 9 months, blended and bottled, and kept 7 years to go with the red, while the Jeune, the Viognier, Vermentino, Chardonnay are completely fermented in stainless steel vats, bottled after 2 months from their fermentation. Okay, so two different worlds, but one thing is for sure, the typicity and the unique character of the Marwah and Abaidi give you some wines which will goes into your memory forever. I would say if you have to taste 86 white, 75 white, 1999, 2001, one of my favorites white wine I have ever produced in my life. I wish I have a second life to produce it one more time. 2001 white wine, 2008, 2010 have a very special thing. So we have a very different style of wine. Look, they are different. They are completely different, but life is different. We should always praise when you have a wine in front of you that people show, oh, look, you have a unique wine. Sometimes what you have in your hand is who you are. So present a unique product. It's who you are. Be different. Don't be afraid to make a difference. Don't be afraid to be different. Be different and make this unique signature of yours. And this is what the whites are, very different and very unique.
And one journalist famously wrote about our Chateau Musar white, which was Serge's great love. He said, Tariq was saying about how unique they are, because Obaide and Merwa, the two grape varieties he mentioned, are indigenous to Lebanon. They've been there hundreds and hundreds of years. They're really part of Lebanon's DNA, something completely different. We make a really small amount on very, very old rootstock, and it's a very specific thing. Age beautifully. They'll age even as much as the reds. But the journalist said they are a Marla in a world of Richard Claydermans. It's like they're so specific, so unique, because nowhere else in the world has Obaide and Merwa. These are original grapes, have been there hundreds and hundreds of years. And the interesting thing about them, as Tariq was mentioning, we planted Vermentino and Viognier Chardonnay for something else, for Musar Jeune white, which is a white wine, which we harvest much earlier in August. It rushes to reach its alcohol in August. So we have to pick it in August, because otherwise it would reach its alcohol very, very quickly. It could be 14% or more very quickly in August. So we have an early picking time for those, because they are foreigners, really. They're not adapted to Lebanese terroir and soil and everything. But the indigenous grapes that are Lebanese, that have been there all these generations, they take their time, and they will sometimes only give us 12% or 12.5% alcohol in October. So our harvest is very long. We go from early August with the new varieties we planted 2001 to sometimes third week in October, only reaching maximum 12.5% alcohol with the original varieties.
Thanks, Jane. I mean, I want to segue. I mean, I love that Tariq was talking about back vintages, his favorite vintages of these white wines. We actually have a comment from Rudolfo, who said, the 1997 vintage is my favorite out of all the years I've tried. Was there something special about that year? I mean, Tariq, I don't know how quickly you can recall particular years like that, but do you remember the 97 vintage as being something special?
Is he talking about the reds or white?
I believe he's talking about the red. Yeah, the Musar. Okay,
97, I have to admit, one of the most difficult vintage I ever produced. I will never forget it. Okay. I could forget, for example, it's very rare to forget a harvest, because it was very difficult. And we were coming from 1995, where we have, from 95, we have changed something in style. 96, where let us say it's the new beginning, when Serge we decided to discuss and to make a new style of how to reduce many things in the wine. So 96, 97 were our first trial, and never take out of my mind. 97 was very difficult, very tough, but this is the only wine that, from being tough, making very, very mellowing. He let us say he just melted down through the years. I think 97 one, I agree with the guy, with Rodolfo, I agree with him. It's now one of the very good vintage. But when we started it, it was one of the most difficult vintage I have ever produced. And sometimes the most difficult thing is the great things. You understand? Emile Penot said the most dangerous wine are the best ones. This is one very, very difficult, and I agree with them. Now I have tasted about 4 weeks ago. I had a visitor coming from Germany, and he wanted to taste 1997, which we didn't do any tasting due to coronavirus. But I decided, let's go, let's do it together, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Fantastic. I mean, I think we're coming up on over an hour. I don't want tonight to end. I'm having such a good time, and I'm loving the questions and more so the answers. But I think it's time to start to wrap it up. First of all, Tarek, we couldn't thank you enough for taking the time out of the middle of your night, staying up till 2 in the morning, now 3 in the morning, to really with so much insight and so much passion, so much fun to talk about. I mean, clearly you are head, shoulders, feet fully into the wine. We love it so much. We're so grateful. Nelson, thank you very much. I'll be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Marc Nadeau from the Académie du Vin as well, because with all your boxes tonight, you received an incredible book on Chateau Musar. It really is a deep dive into the rich history of this winery. Jane, you really filled in all of the gaps and all of some super, super interesting points about all the vintages and the style and the grapes and the reasons. We're just really grateful. I hope everyone enjoyed their meal. Tarek, I can't wait to come to your house and taste these amazing non-tourist Lebanese food. I don't want to go to a restaurant when I come to Lebanon. I'll just stay for a couple nights. I'll pick these. One last question I have before we go. Nelson said to me that you guys had trouble keeping the leaves on your vines at a particular time of year, when the locals really love the Cinsault leaves for making their food, their dishes at home. Can you talk to how you keep away the leaf stealers?
First of all, it was Cinsault, but the most effective leaves was the Grenache, because
the Grenache.
Yes, because you have to know that ampelography is, for example, I know the grape variety from the leaf, and the leaves it's like the face of a human. So practically the only grape variety would have no hair on the downside of the leaf is the Grenache. So people when they made it, you don't feel the astringency, or you don't feel anything itchy. You understand? So I had to put 4 guards, okay, to pay them money. I have to turn on projectors, because they have been people, and they were selling my leaf roll Grenache as organic at about $5 the kilo. Yes, they were stealing.
Amazing.
And
I love it.
One year they have stripped all the leaves, and the grapes was alone. So we have I am putting about 4 to 5 guards on this special, and the problem is that this special vineyard is for the Hochar. I cannot. This is the single vineyard where you have the Grenache. So people are now selling it, and you have also through economic crisis, people are going more and more to attack the reefs. So this is what happened.
I mean, you have to be the only winery in the world that needs security to protect its leaves. I mean, I love that so much.
Yes, now let us say more Lebanese wineries, because now it started with us and people now discover that all the wineries have Grenache. So let's take all the Grenache. And I will tell you one thing. I have now more and more people who are planting Grenache just to sell the leaves, not to make grapes. You understand?
It's such a culturally specific issue. I love it so much. I mean, Nelson, before we go, I want to talk. I mean, I'm just drinking the 2010 Chateau Musar. Can you talk a little bit about your impressions of this vintage? And I mean, I just think I don't want to go. I'm so happy to continue this discussion. Tell us about 2013, because you know more about how it compares to the past 10 years than anyone, maybe other than Jane and Tarek here.
Yeah, for me, you know, I've just started to get to know it, like you, John. We tasted it for the first time together, and what can I say? It was special tasting both of them together because they're both so young, and we get a lot of times a lot more development when we first taste these wines, when they first land in the market. And we just seem to have two vintages of the different wines land at the same time available to us that really, to me, they seem so cellar worthy. Again, because they show so much promise, so much poise in these wines, and so much depth. But all of that real rich layers of fruit and complexity and aromatics and flavors, they're not showing yet. You get glimpses of them, you get little peeks at them, but they're not out there yet. And my overall impression with these is that these are ones that are really, we want to revisit down the road, because they seem to have so much energy, and they seem like they're going to go a long time, for sure.
100%. All I'm going to say is, to end it off, I'm going to say to everybody, happy swimming, to continue the metaphor. Take a plunge, enjoy the salt water of the sea near Lebanon. I mean, it has been such an enlightening evening and such a wonderful, engaging conversation. Thank you to all the panelists, in particular Tarek and Nelson. I'll let you sign us off.
Thanks, John. I just want to let everybody know that I will be sending an email around tomorrow. We just received this vintage with the pandemic. We've had a really hard time getting shipments in on a regular basis. And we got this in, and we had a bunch of back orders that we had to fill. We reserved all of our remaining stock for this event here. And we have some extra bottles of both of these wines. If you're interested, please let me know. I'll send out an email tomorrow that you can reply back to if you're interested in having a few more of these bottles at home, and we'll very fairly split them amongst who's ever interested, because there's not a lot available. And Jane was very gracious to open up some back vintages of Musar, 2002, 2003, I remember seeing on your list, Jane. And I'll share that information with you as well. So if you're interested, we could do a special order for some of these back vintages that they've made available, and that'll be really special. So you'll hear from me, and thank you all for being with us tonight.
Nelson, can I add something? I didn't have the time, neither the opportunity, just to help people. Since, let us say, it's 3, I cannot go to sleep. I have to keep them awake with me. I want you just to understand that Chateau Musar have a lot of wine that are aging. And I want you to do one thing. After 20 years of old of any wines, please use those kind of cork opening, the prawns. So please do this. Do not open any more Chateau Musar from 2001 backwards with this one, with the normal screw, with this one. This is for 10, maximum to 15 years. After that, you go with this one. It's called prawns. You can see it in video. You take this one, you put it, the longer one, prawns, you take it. After that, you put the small one, and you do like this, and you turn it, and you take it. Very easy, so the cork will not crumble in the wines. Some wines are not taking the right because people do not know how to open. This is the way to open a wine after 20 years. This is not the way, this is the only way to open wine after 20 years. Cork is a natural product. It will be destroyed after, it will be very fragile. It have a weak points. Let us keep those aging wines and let us have fun with them and let us enjoy them and really know how to open and not to be afraid from opening them. This is what I want to people. This is what I want to people know, that this is the way to open a wine after 20 years. Thank you very much, everybody.
You're welcome. If anybody, if any of you would like some of these openers, we can get some for you and we'll ship them with your wine, no problem.
Amazing, amazing. And with that, thank you, Tarek. An awesome last tip of the night. We're gonna say good evening to all. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the food. I hope the instructional video was useful. I know this conversation was super engaging and enlightening. Jane, thank you so much. Tarek, thank you very, very much. Nelson, you know we love you. It's been 15 years. Here's to 15 more. Thank you to all. And also a quick thank you to Kathleen Chu, of course, who organizes all of this for us on the Ascari side and does a killer job making sure everyone stays on point. We're seeing tons of thanks through the chats right now. Everyone is super happy and we couldn't love it more. Thank you from the Ascari Hospitality Group. These evenings are such an amazing opportunity to us to stay engaged with our clientele, as well as to introduce more people to the food we do and also the relationships we've spent building for 15 years like Chateau Musar. So with that, we're gonna say good evening. We'll see you next time. Check out AscariHospitalityGroup.com for all of our new wine dinners coming up. We've got many more of these in the pipe with other world-class wineries. Tarek, thanks. I can't wait to come see you in Lebanon, brother. You know we are coming. Eric and I are coming. Trust us. Keep that door unlocked. We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tarek and John. Outstanding.
Thank you, Nelson, John.
What a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was spectacular. Thanks so much.